Good day, Twisted News viewers. I'm Theo Shaft, and today we return to the chilling case of the Gilgo Beach serial killer. Rex Heuermann, the 61-year-old Long Island architect accused of terrorizing communities for over a decade, has now been charged with the murder of a seventh victim. This disturbing revelation adds another layer to a case that has haunted law enforcement and devastated families since the early 2000s. Let's break down everything we know, from Heuermann's alleged crimes, how investigators finally caught him, and what these new charges mean. It all began in December 2010, when police searching for a missing woman stumbled upon human remains near Gilgo Beach on Long Island's South Shore. This grim discovery quickly escalated into one of the most horrifying serial murder cases in modern U.S. history. Over the next few months, authorities found 11 sets of remains along a desolate stretch of Ocean Parkway, including 4 women initially labeled the Gilgo Four. The victims were young women in their 20s, many of whom had been working as online escorts. The remains of additional victims, including partial torsos from much earlier cases, deepened the mystery. The killer's methods were methodical. Most victims were bound with tape or belts, and their bodies were wrapped in burlap sacks, a detail that suggested calculated attempts to conceal the crimes. For years, the case went cold. Leads came and went, and investigators were left with few answers. Until 2022. In July 2023, after more than a decade of frustration, authorities arrested Rex Heuermann, a married father of 2 and a respected Manhattan-based architect. The news shocked the nation. A man who had spent years leading what seemed like an everyday suburban life was now suspected of being a prolific killer. But Heuermann's background paints a darker picture. Described as a quiet loner, Heuermann owned a house in Massapequa Park, Long Island, just miles from where the bodies were found. Prosecutors revealed chilling evidence that pointed to him as the killer. Heuermann used burner phones to contact victims and later taunt their families, showcasing a cruel psychological game. Hair found on burlap bags used to wrap the victims matched Heuermann's family members, implicating him as the likely source. Investigators uncovered a disturbing digital footprint, with searches for violent pornography, snuff films, and details about the Gilgo Beach investigation itself. At the time of his arrest, Heuermann was charged with the murders of 3 of the Gilgo Four, Melissa Barthelemy, Megan Waterman, and Amber Costello, and was named the prime suspect in the death of Maureen Brainerd Barnes. Now, Heuermann has been charged with a 7th murder, the killing of Valerie Mack, a 24-year-old woman who disappeared in 2000. Mack, who also used the alias Melissa Taylor, was last seen in Philadelphia before her torso was discovered later that year in Manorville, New York. 11 years later, additional remains were found near Gilgo Beach, connecting her death to the more extensive investigation. So what links Heuermann to Mack's murder? Investigators point to several key findings. A strand of hair recovered from Mack's remains matched Heuermann's family DNA, likely transferred from him at the time of the crime. During a 2023 search of Heuermann's Massapequa home, investigators uncovered planning documents, detailed notes that outlined methods for targeting, killing, and disposing of victims. The information included chilling references to Mack's disappearance. Mack's murder mirrors those of Heuermann's other suspected victims: dismemberment, remote disposal of remains, and connections to the sex work industry. Valerie Mack's identity remained unknown until 2020, when advances in genetic genealogy finally gave her family closure. Now, nearly 24 years after her disappearance, prosecutors are one step closer to justice for Mack and the other victims. For over a decade, the Gilgo Beach investigation remained stagnant. But in 2022, a renewed push by a special task force brought the case back to life. Key breakthroughs included analysis of burner phone pings placed Heuermann in the vicinity of the victims' locations when they went missing. Modern forensic tools allowed police to link hair evidence directly to Heuermann and his family members. Heuermann's searches for details on the investigation, violent content, and sex workers painted a picture of a man obsessed with power and control. In July 2023, Heuermann's arrest ended years of speculation, but his charges continue to mount as evidence from unsolved cases is re-evaluated. Rex Heuermann remains behind bars as he awaits trial. He has pleaded not guilty to all charges, and his defense team has pushed back against the prosecution's reliance on circumstantial evidence. Still, with DNA findings, phone records, and now detailed evidence connecting him to Valerie Mack's murder, the case against Heuermann continues to grow stronger. Meanwhile, investigators are expanding their search. Authorities believe Heuermann may be connected to additional unsolved cases, both in New York and across state lines, raising the possibility that the full scope of his crimes has yet to be uncovered. For the families of the victims, the new charges bring a mix of relief and renewed grief. After years of unanswered questions, they are finally seeing progress, but the pain of their loss remains. The Long Island community, once paralyzed by fear, continues to process the horrors of what happened on its shores. The Gilgo Beach case has also sparked broader discussions about law enforcement failures, the targeting of vulnerable individuals, and the critical role of modern technology in solving cold cases. The image of Rex Heuermann as a methodical and monstrous killer becomes more apparent with each new charge. Yet, as investigators work to unravel the whole story, questions remain. How many more victims might be out there? And how did a man living an outwardly everyday life hide such darkness for so long? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think there are more victims yet to be uncovered? And what does this case say about how law enforcement handles serial murder investigations? We'll update you as this case develops. Stay curious, stay critical, and as always, keep questioning. I'm Theo Shaft, and this is Twisted News. Until next time.